Okay, in this video we're going to look at how to increase the number by a provided percentage. So let's get started. There are two methods which we use generally to do this. The first method is to work out the desired percentage, and the second method is to first add on that percentage to 100% and work out the total percentage. Let's start with the first method. So for this method we're going to determine our first 25% of 60. Okay? Now, if you've watched our videos before, you know that 25% is the same as 25 out of 100, and of we can replace multiply to be 25 over 100 times 60 over 1. Now, if you divide the top and the bottom, or the numerator and the denominator of our fraction over here, you can cancel it by dividing by a common factor. And a common factor between these two is 25. So if you divide the top by 25, we get 1. And the bottom by 25, we get 4. Now, another way we can reduce this or simplify that fraction is to cancel diagonally. That means between the 60 and the 4. So if we do that, we're just looking for a common factor. Now, both are divisible by 4, so let's divide the bottom by 4 and get 1, and the top by 4, and we will get 15. And that way our fraction promptly simplifies to 1 over 1 multiplied by 15 over 1, which is exactly the same as 1 times 15, which is 15. So this means that 25% of 60 is equal to 15. And if we're looking to increase 60 by 25%, then what we need to do is essentially we're going to be doing 100%. And we're then going to add on our 25% at the end, and we'll get 125%. So we know that this is 25% here, so all we have to do is add that back to our 60. So let's just do that now. So our answer is going to be 60 plus 15, which is equal to 75. Alright, that's our first way of doing it. So for method 2, we can do the exact same thing. All we have to do is, instead of determining 25% of 60, we're going to determine 125%. So we're starting at 100%, we're adding on whatever our increase is, so in this case 25%, and that's going to be 125%. Now 125% can be expressed in the same way as a fraction, so we can do 125 over 100 multiplied by 60 over 1, and we're doing the exact same thing. We're just going to simplify the fractions down. So if we divide the top and the bottom of this fraction by 25, we'll get 5 over 4, and again we can cancel by 4 diagonally, and we can get 1 here and then 15 here. Alright, now if we do 5 times 15, we're also going to get 75. Okay, so either way works, it's just what is your preference. Now I'm going to continue doing these, and I'm not necessarily going to do every single method, but we're just going to go through the rest of these examples. Alright, moving on to B, we're asked to increase 100 by 50%. Okay, so let's just do method 1 for this. So what's going to be 50% of 100? And then we'll add that back to 100 at the end. So this is the same as 50 over 100 multiplied by 100 over 1. Now we can cancel this fraction, top and bottom here. We're going to look for a common factor, and the common factor that's the highest between them is going to be 50. So if I divide the top by 50, 50 divided by 50 is just 1, and then 100 divided by 50 is just 2. Again, we can look for a common factor diagonally between the 2 and the 100, and we'll see that we can divide both by 2. 2 divided by 2 is just 1, and 100 divided by 2 is 50. And so our fraction simplifies down to 1 over 1 times 50 over 1, which is just 1 times 50. So our answer is going to be 50. So 50% of 100 is equal to 50. That means 150% of 100 is equal to 50 plus our initial starting 100. So that equals 150. Alright, let's look at C. we have 80 is increased by 20%. Okay, so we can again, instead of doing the way we just did it, let's do it the other way. So instead of doing 20% of 80, we're going to do instead 80 multiplied by 120%. Okay, so we've got 120 over 100 multiplied by 80 over 1. Alright, in this case, we can look for a common factor, and between these two, the highest common factor is going to be 20. So divide the top by 20, and I will get 6, and the bottom by 20, and I will get 5. Right, I've got 6 over 5. Is there a common factor between 5 and 80? Yes, there is. It's 5. Divide the bottom by 5, I'll get 1. And divide the top by 5, and I will get 16. Alright, the end result is going to be multiplying 6 by 16. So 6 times 16 is going to be 96, and you can do that in stages. You can do 60 plus 36 will be 96. Okay, lastly we have D. So we're just going to go back to method 1. We're going to determine 25% of 200. So 25% of 200 can be expressed as the fraction 25 over 100 multiplied by 200 over 1. Right, let's look for some fractions to cancel. So we can cancel 25 and 100. Divide the top by 25, you'll get 1, and the bottom by 25, you'll get 4. So always remember that a 25% can always be simplified down to a quarter. Now, is there something we can cancel diagonally between the 4 and the 200? And the answer is yes, they're both divisible by 4. So divide the bottom by 4 and we'll get 1, and divide the top by 4 and we'll get 50. So the end result is that 25% is equal to 1 over 1 times 50 over 1, which is just 1 times 50, which is 50. That means 125% of 200 is going to be equal to 200 plus 50, which is equal to 250. Okay, last thing I want to do before I wrap up this video is just show you how you can do this on a calculator. Exactly the same way. All we have to do is, instead of essentially doing the fraction problem ourselves, we just change it into a decimal form and multiply it by the quantity. So if we bring up our calculator, what we can do is we can do the problem we just did. So 200 is increased by 25%. So we can determine 25% of 200 by doing 25 divided by 100. Hit execute. You'll get a quarter, which is our simplified fraction, which is equal to 0.25. Now you can multiply this by our quantity, which was 200, and hit equals. So it gives you our 25%, which is going to be 50. The other way to do this is, instead of doing it as the 25%, do it as 125%. So we can do 125 divided by 100, hit execute. Our decimal form is going to be 1.25, and multiply that by 200, and this will give us 125%. So that's a much easier way to do it, especially if you're having difficulty with the calculations or you can't see common factors to cancel. Just bring up the calculator, put the total percentage you're looking for, divide it by 100, and then determine the decimal value and multiply by the quantity you have. Alright, that's it for this video. Hope it was helpful, and I will see you in the next one.